So have you ever taken a short break, turned around, and just took a nice look at whatever you're working on, and then realized that you have no idea what you're doing? Hello and welcome to my devlog. I'm making a split-screen multiplayer FPS called Couch Combat, and I'm currently starting on a brand new setting for my game, the Outrun area. The Outrun area will be filled with neon lights, flashing signs, and brand new ways to traverse its not very crowded streets. So let's not waste any more time and get right into it. So I actually started on this area last devlog, but I did not get super far. I mostly just made models and made plans for it. But the first thing I want to do in this devlog is to add wall running. Wall running is a mechanic that lets you run on walls. It's used in other fast-paced shooters like Titanfall 2, but I'm going to do it just a little bit differently. Wall running everywhere works well for a game like Titanfall 2 with its much larger maps and decently high difficulty expectations. But I want my game to be pretty easy to pick up and play for people with little video game experience, and having such a high-speed moveset would make it so much harder. Plus, the game and its maps just aren't designed for wall running. But I have a pretty simple solution. I'm just going to add specific walls that you can wall run on, and they will be exclusive to the Outrun area, and it'll add a bit more uniqueness to the area's level design when compared with the rest of the game. In order to make wall running, I just quickly first modeled the wall running walls. They are really just boxes with neon outlines and arrows, so they did not take very long. Now, actually programming wall running could have been a difficult and long process, but luckily I already did it. Earlier this year, I made a game for a game jam called The Final Frontier, and it has wall running in it. So I just took wall running from that project, slapped it into my current movement code, and duct taped it all back together. And just like that, you can now wall run on certain walls. Speaking of wall running, my game is currently available to wishlist on Steam. Wishlisting the game lets you know whenever I release it and is also really helpful for me. So if you are at all interested in the game, then please wishlist. The other new stage object that I'm going to quickly put together for the Outrun area is a jump pad, but I already made a jump pad a long time ago, somewhere around devlog 4 or 5, so I stuck it back in the game and it actually still sort of works. All the pieces are ready, so I'm going to finally begin to assemble the first stage. I went about building the stage about the same way that I always do. I used my incredible art skills to sketch out a design for the stage. It's pretty simple, and it's very symmetrical this time around. Just a palm tree, some ramps, and 2 walls that you can wall run on. Then it was time to start modeling. In order to make stages, I always start by putting together a basic version within Unity using ProBuilder. ProBuilder is very quick to use, and I can also easily test my stage to make sure that I have things like scale right. After making this prototype of the stage, I exported all to Blender, which is a free 3D modeling program, and within Blender, I start adding more details and stuff. Since this is my first time making an Outrun stage, it took a lot more experimentation for me to find out what exactly I wanted. But I added lots of neon outlines and a bit more complexity to the shapes. It's not as natural looking as the Oriental area, and instead has more of a digital pointiness look, which makes sense since it is low poly and also digital. Finally, I put together a few neon signs to hang up around the place, and selected a free skybox that I found on the asset store. It actually ended up having pretty much the perfect look I was looking for, so I think I'll just stick with it instead of making my own, as I'm pretty terrible at making skyboxes anyway. While most of my time was going towards making the Outrun area, I also finished up some of the polishing that I've been doing for the last few months. First off, I made every button in the game look better by using the actual outline component in Unity that I had no idea existed. Then I switched out the font for something a little bit better looking and added the game's logo to the main menu instead of just some basic text saying Couch Combat. And I finished it all up by adding some animations to the menu using a custom script I made for UI animations. Though all those improvements were related to UI, I also finally got around to fixing the player hitboxes. You used to just have a beam for a hitbox, but that was inaccurate and it didn't support headshots, so I used a new genius method that I invented to make somewhat accurate hitboxes. First off, I just took my rigged model and I used Unity's ragdoll creator tool on the model, and this gave me a ragdoll with terrible colliders. So I fixed the colliders, removed all the rigid bodies and joints and stuff, and turned all the colliders into triggers. Then you have a beautiful colliders that actually move with the animation and also aren't super complicated. So yeah, colliders are actually pretty accurate now, and headshots also deal a bit more damage. Though I should probably add a new sound effect for headshots as well to really emphasize them. While I asked for hats last devlog, I wonder if I actually got any. Wow, I was not expecting a response this big, but sure, I'll take it. I found the whole modeling thing, hats are super easy for me to implement, so I might as well just throw them all in. If I didn't include your hat, by the way, it probably doesn't mean I hate you, though it might. Most of the ones I didn't add just didn't really fit the style of the game or were very similar to hats I already had in the game. Though for now you can just keep sending me hats if you want to, and in the future I think I'll plan it out more and host like competitions to make hats to get in the game. I want a decent amount of hats in the game, but if I have too many then it'll just be kinda messy, and hats that are in the game will all seem less special. Nevertheless, I implemented 8 new community created hats hats into the game, and I also added a simple system to credit them in the drop-in menu. Thank you, however I pronounce this, Crate Black Shadow 1, and especially Nitric Wright, who made 6 of the hats. It took me around 6 months to make the 8 stages of the Oriental area. Of course, most of this time wasn't spent making the stages, but rather all the stuff around them. This meant finalizing the art style, making weapons, new player models, the main menu, and just a ton of polishing. But to be honest, the real reason that the Oriental area took so long was my biggest mistake that I made while making Couch Combat. I got super disorganized. Though I definitely made a lot of progress over the last 6 months, it really did end up taking longer for me to get the game to the point that it's at than I expected it would. Now, making a game always ends up taking longer than planned, but a good way to avoid it taking too much longer is actually just planning more. If instead of just working on whatever I felt like working on at the time, I had actually sat down and properly set up goals and tasks for each point in the game, I would be at a much further point in development than where I am right now. So beginning now, I'm just gonna start planning out everything a little bit more. Starting with this outrun area. I slowly put together the Oriental area while making other stuff, but that was a mistake, so I'm gonna buckle down and do the entire outrun area in just about 8 days total, though there'll probably be a break in the middle because I kinda have to make this devlog. And I have all the steps until release planned out as well, albeit with much less specific time expectations. After the outrun area, I'm going to do a small GUI and reticle overhaul and then completely remodel and reanimate every gun in the game. After that, I'm going to put together some smaller game modes and then more areas, and it keeps going. Focusing on one specific thing and completing it before moving on is just a great way to maximize efficiency, and I want to make sure to waste as little time as possible, as I don't feel like working on Couch Combat for another 15 years. Oh yeah, by the way, I'm already halfway done with the outrun area. I made 3 more stages in 1 day each, and I'm pretty happy with each one. The second stage takes place in what kind of looks like a parking garage that is 2 different levels stacked on top of each other, which is new for the game. The third stage has an absolutely massive tower in the center of it, which probably makes it the most unique looking stage in the entire game. And finally, the fourth stage is a bit more basic and has design pretty similar to the Oriental area, but it has a nice color palette and some wall running. So yeah, the new outrun area is already halfway complete and will be finished by the next devlog. It feels really nice to be making quicker progress, as the Oriental area was painfully slow whenever it came to that. Thanks for watching, and stay tuned for a new video essay coming eventually, as well as more futon fights. Bye.